the Supertuck, sitting on your top tube while descending to gain an aerodynamic advantage. Now, it's been banned by the UCI, which has fueled many debates as to whether it should or should not be legal. However, we believe there's a way that you can still Supertuck in a much safer way and a UCI legal way, and that is with a dropper post. So we fitted a bike with a dropper post, and we're going to find out if it works and what it's like. Going pretty quick, so much less control. But already, I mean, it feels so much sketchier. Elbows nice and bent. You're making yourself as small as possible. This is quick. This is quick. What is a dropper post, some of you may be asking? Well, I'm sure the mountain bikers among you will be well aware, but it's a special kind of seat post that can be set to a predefined height, and then at the press of a button on your handlebar, it can then be lowered and telescope into the frame, and then at a press of a button again, that can be then released and it springs back to that predefined height. And the advantages of a dropper post are that you can lower the seat post, get it out of the way, which is important for mountain bikers on technical descents, but it also allows you to lower your center of gravity and, in theory, on a road bike, get more aerodynamic as well, a bit like the position you'd assume with a Supertuck. I'm just going to fire this off. Oh, look at that. Our cunning plan is that this will allow us to circumvent UCI rule 1.3.008. Now, I know that the GCN Tech audience all know the UCI rules completely off by heart. But just in case other people are watching, allow me to remind you, UCI rule 1.3.008 is as follows. The rider shall normally assume a sitting position on the bicycle, where the only points of support are the following: the feet on the pedals, the hands on the handlebars, and the seat on the saddle. This is the rule that bans pro riders from assuming the infamous Supertuck position. Now, Swiss side have done research on the position and found that at 70 kilometers an hour, the wattage saving is equivalent to 135 watts or 30 seconds per 10 kilometers of descending. This is relative to a conventional position on the drops. Now, this is massive, and it's the reason why pro riders do it. It is faster than a standard position on the drops. Whether you want to do a Supertuck is entirely up to you, especially if you're not participating in a UCI race. However, it isn't as safe, and that's why it's been banned. The reason it isn't as safe is because your weight distribution on the bike is all wrong, and you subsequently have a lot less control. Your weight is all over the front wheel, which means that if you have to maneuver or stop in an emergency, your ability to do so is much diminished. However, we think this might be a completely different story with a dropper post. So I'm going to do an experiment on GCN's official test descent. This is a descent that I'm very familiar with. It's a very safe descent. It's got a brilliant road surface as well, so the hazards are mitigated in that respect. And I'm going to descend it in a normal seated position. I'm going to descend it in a Supertuck position on the top tube, and I'm also going to descend it with the dropper post collapsed, and we'll see what the differences are. Oh, and all you people currently squirreling away in the comments section, thinking you're being original, making jokes about me using a dropper post and getting dropped and how it should be called an ollie post and all this stuff. You're not original. You're not. Stop doing it. Get a new joke book. Think some more jokes. Anyway, on with the experiment. I'm going to perform each position twice. I'm not going to pedal on the descent at all, and I'm going to begin with the standard position. The descent's about 2 kilometers long. I'm just going to stay in a standard descending position in the drop. Elbows nice and bent. Going pretty quick. Now time for the Supertuck. Now, this kind of position is basically what skiers do, or downhill skiers or ski jumpers. You're making yourself as small as possible, reducing your frontal area and making yourself much more aerodynamic. But already, I mean, it feels so much sketchier. Like, if a squirrel was to run out in front of me now, I'd be in trouble. So much less control. Right, time for the dropper post. Dropping in! There we go. Let's go. This is quick. This is quick. So much control around the corners as well, actually. Noticeable. I just feel more stable, but still fast. The weight distribution just feels better. Quick, but more in control. I've got the results, they're in, and they are as follows. So these are the results for the different positions averaged over the 2 runs. On the standard position, I did it in 1:37 and hit a top speed of 70 kilometers an hour. On the Supertuck position, I did it in 1:24 and hit a top speed of 82 kilometers an hour. So a really significant difference there. But the interesting thing is, when I used the dropper post and had it down, I did it in 1:26 with a top speed of 80k an hour. So just 2 seconds in it between that and the Supertuck, but considerably faster than a sort of standard drops descending position, and just slightly slower. And I think, you know, granted, my bum isn't quite as low as the Supertuck position as it is with the dropper post, and that perhaps explains why it was ever so slightly slower, but, you know, significantly faster than the standard position. And the other thing to point out is, similar to what Dan experienced when he did his test with the dropper post, is that I felt much more in control. I felt much better with my weight distribution spread across the bike rather than just at the front as it is in a Supertuck. You know, it's much more precarious having all your weight over the bars and the front wheel. And I didn't have any hairpins to negotiate like Dan did, but even on the flowing corners, it did feel nice having my bum planted, but with a lower centre of gravity with the dropper post. Well, that all sounds hunky-dory, but before we all rush out and go and strip the shelves of dropper posts, there are a few issues that we need to consider. The first one being weight. A dropper post typically adds around 500 grams over a standard carbon seat post, which is significant. And once you add in the workings as well, it can add further weight. Now, a best solution for this is probably something like the SRAM Reverb Access RockShox post, which is wireless, which makes life much easier for all the integration and stuff. You can just have a blip on your handlebar to activate it, but that still weighs 650 grams compared to around 200 grams for a standard carbon seat post. Therefore, the added aero benefit of a dropper post on the descents would have to outweigh the weight penalty on the climbs. The next issue is compatibility. There's a reason why I fitted this dropper post to this gravel bike, this beautiful Canyon Grail, and not my Pinarello road bike, and that's because they don't fit on many bikes. Dropper posts are round, but most modern road bikes now have aero seat posts or non-round seat posts, and this is definitely the case with most of the bikes that the pros ride, meaning that at present there aren't really many solutions you can choose. Furthermore, the dropper posts are usually a wider diameter because that's what's found on mountain bikes compared to the narrower diameter seat posts you get on road bikes and gravel bikes, meaning that your choices are much more limited. That said, our results suggest that there is an advantage to be gained by using a dropper post, and an advantage that can be gained in a much safer way than a standard Supertuck. I mean, could a dropper post be engineered into an Aero seat post? Why not, I guess? And perhaps they'll also be able to engineer the weight down and make that lower as well. And ideally, you'd probably want a drop post that could have greater travel than the one I've got here, and actually get even lower to give you more of an advantage. If we extrapolate, something that I think would be brilliant to see would be a rider using a dropper post to gain an aerodynamic advantage to hold off other riders who perhaps didn't have dropper posts. I think this would be brilliant if this happened in a race, and it's that classic cycling thing where certain people are using technology and using their heads to gain an advantage over the competition. A bit like Le Mans using tri-bars against Laurent Fignon. Yeah, it'd be great. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on this in the comments section down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up as it helps the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.